Welcome back to another Trade Alts technical analysis tutorial. This is VIP series volume 2 with the advanced support resistance horizontal levels. I had asked in Discord if you guys wanted a second video focusing on the time-based support resistance levels, and it was a resounding yes, so I'm happy to do it. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some random altcoin charts, and I'm going to chart the relevant levels for you so that again we can get a bit more practice with this, because this is very important. So can't hurt to have too much practice. And then, you know, obviously, like, while I'm on the chart, might as well do the technical analysis to finish it out. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to focus on the levels, make sure the levels are correct, and then we'll just go through a very quick technical analysis just to finish it out, and then we'll move on to the next chart. That being said, though, let's get started. All right, so the first chart we're going to focus on is actually a chart that I'm really curious to look at because I just talked about it in Discord. It's a chart, it's an altcoin that's doing something a bit different than, you know, obviously Bitcoin's having a little bit of a move down. Lost a daily level at the moment. It's not too bad, but, you know, a lot of alts are obviously dropping a little bit, but Atom looks actually pretty strong. So this is one I wanted to cover. And I'm using the Coinbase chart for a simple reason, because it has longer price action history than Binance. So typically I chart alts on Binance, but again, Atom has a longer price action history on Coinbase chart, so that's what I'm going to use, and it's going to be a really good representation of the levels. So that's what we're using it. So the first thing that I do, which has nothing to do with this video actually, but I'm going to do it right now anyway, is I like to essentially just pull a fixed range of the entire chart. And the reason is I want to know where my value area levels. That's the first thing that I do, just to kind of get an idea. And these are my macro levels. Macro meaning like high time frame stuff. Like these are like high time frame, very relevant levels, which you can see here. Look how incredibly relevant this is, right? So here's your macro value area high. Look at the respect, lose it, even back test. Very important level. And then your point of control, obviously we've had, this is where the most volume is taking place, the most action, the most business has been done here, way down at $5. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. That's the first thing I do. And like when your value area low is all the way down here, you can mark it if you want, but I mean, we're literally at $20. Your value area low is technically like way down here at like $1.82. It's just not relevant, so I don't bother. But if you really want to mark it, feel free. And then I'm going to start on my levels. So obviously, you know, with alts, I don't typically try to find yearly levels, but we're going to do it just because this is a, you know, a mod, like a tutorial. I want to make sure that I go through everything. And the funny part is you actually do have a yearly level, but it is way down here at 420. Interesting number. So then we're going to go to, so again, like if, let's say we hit, you know, bear market, Bitcoin's back at 20K, probably a little bit worse, honestly, for Atom to see $4. I mean, maybe not, but, you know, again, let's say we're in like clear bear market, things don't look very good. This 420 level on Atom would be like definitely one that I would be paying attention to, but it's so far away. Let's see here, quarterly level. You actually do. You have a quarterly level here, and we're above it at the moment. You have a quarterly level, so I'm going to show this to you, but there's so much. I mean, you can see here on my screen 1 month 12 days left in here, so I'm not going to mark this, but I'll just show you right now. You have a quarterly level forming, right? It's not confirmed unless this current candle closes above this level. That's the only way you're going to confirm this level. So again, it's not worth really, you know, I mean, if you really wanted to be precise and you just want to have all of the levels on your chart, you could technically name this quarterly open, and that would be fair, but it's also not really that important. You know, if it was the yearly, you know, like a yearly open or something, that's a big, you know, that's something I would definitely pay attention to. But again, this is not like, it's just if you really wanted to But you know, again, if this candle, you have a month and 12 days, if it does close above this, it will confirm. And then you have one way down here, but again, I'm not going to bother just because it's not relevant. But you could put it here if you really want to put it here, and I guess I'll mark it for you. It's right here. So if you want to make this your quarterly level, you can you know, again, you can have that on your chart. But again, it's like gonna, you know, then you're gonna have 100 levels on your chart. So I wouldn't bother putting it here. I'll leave it here, I guess, for the tutorial purposes, but it's irrelevant. So again, this, I guess part of this is finding the relevant levels, right? So obviously this is a level, but is it relevant to price action right now? The answer is clearly no, right? So you don't really need it on your chart. Again, if Atom crashes and you start pushing these lower levels, then you can come back and rechart these levels. Like it can always be there, right? So I guess I'll delete it. But that level is there. Then you go down to your monthly and have a bit more action here. Obviously, the lower time frames that you go, the more levels you're typically going to have, right? So this is a pretty big, like, this is a pretty important level. It's the next resistance that we have on our chart, right? So like this quarterly was a pretty important level. And then, you know, again, this monthly, this is the next relevant level that you have on your chart. You actually have a monthly here as well, which had a really nice back test, right? So it confirmed as monthly here. This month opens. Nice back test of the $12 level. Price pushes up. So this is definitely relevant. And then again, like you could chart some of these levels, but they're so close to the yearly and they're just not like super relevant. So like here is kind of an example, right? So here's a monthly level at 720. You haven't, like, you know, again, price pushed away on lower time frames. Maybe it's relevant, right? So I guess I'll leave this here for now. We can make the decision a little bit later. Maybe it's relevant, but again, it pushed up to it. You never really got, you know, you didn't see like a back test on the monthly time frame. Not that it has to. This one here in June got pretty close. All right, it got pretty close, but didn't come all the way down to touch it. But you know, I guess so. We'll just leave this here. But this, again, if you didn't want to put this on your chart, I wouldn't blame you. But I'm going to put it here just for these purposes, just because, you know, again, if I hopefully I remember, come back and check this on lower time frame, see what it looks like. And so here on the weekly time frame, here is your 720 level that we were kind of wondering about. And I mean, it looks, you know, basically your monthly level was made somewhere around here. Price came, pushed up through it, and you did get a couple nice back tests. So I mean, yeah, this is a relevant level. This is something that I would keep. You know, obviously, like it doesn't wick, you know, it doesn't wick on the top of the level like absolutely perfectly, but getting these types of reactions and you get a monster move to the upside, this is something, you know, this is a level that I would keep. And then, so weekly levels, again, I like to start top here because this is your all-time high, right? And then kind of work my way. And like, so here's something that can throw people off too. It's not to say it throws people off, but like if people want to go back and chart every single level, it's not like when you're trading like these, like beginning of the chart 2019 levels, especially because price is so far away from it, like these levels aren't really relevant. But like, I'll show you one thing really quick. Again, I don't want to deviate too far away from sticking to these levels. You know, the whole reason for the purpose of this video. But what do you see here from the beginning of the chart all the way until January of this year, 2021, right? Before you had the massive break to the upside. And then you got, you know, basically a back test of what? This range. Like, this is a killer range. If you look at it, I mean, it's, you know, like it's literally a very nice range. So like what you can do is just pull a fixed range of this price action. Basically, I start from the beginning till this candle here, and you know, the candle right before the massive breakout, and you can get, which funny enough, your macro point of control is still the exact same level, but you can get your range value areas for this range. Like this is a very important range though. So if price does manage to come back down again, which it did here, which, let me see. No way. I swear to you, I didn't do this beforehand. This is, I just label this big range value area high just so you can see this. But this, so the value area high of this multi-year range is, it's almost 2 years, is this low. So when you come up, make your all-time high, big massive move to the downside, where's the ultimate low of this move so far? Your range value area high of this range. Like, that's unbelievable. So I'm gonna delete this, but I just saw this. Like, this is like, so again, these levels don't really matter in terms of trying to chart monthly levels, weekly levels. They're kind of like, they're not important. I'm more focused on current price action, right? Like, this is relevant price action. You know, like, there are a few levels here that you could chart that, like, well, we probably will chart. So like for here, here's a weekly level. It's way down here though. You're talking like 44, right? But this is a weekly level. Weekly level, nice back test, push to the upside. But this, like, when you see really nice ranges like this, it's a good idea to pull your fixed ranges, like get your value areas. This was a really nice example. Wow. Like, I kind of wish I'd charted this a bit earlier. I'm gonna delete this because, again, this has nothing to do with the purpose of the video, and I'm gonna try my best not to get sidetracked. But I thought that was really important to actually show about this being a really nice range. You know, again, basically like this is basically like a big accumulation before a big move to the upside, and then amazingly you come down to the value area high of all of this price action, and then you're getting another really nice move to the upside. Like, that is amazing. So anyway, sorry about the, I thought that was pretty important to go over though. So we're back on a weekly level, right? I marked out this very important untouched weekly level. Again, it's untouched, very important. And then, so like, you have a weekly level here, right? But your monthly level, which supersedes, like, the monthly level is more important. And it kind of is like, there's kind of a lot going on around here. So on the weekly time frame, you kind of like, it kind of looks like it washes this out a lot, but I would still leave this monthly level here. But from a weekly perspective, again, the monthly supersedes, it's more important. It's super close to this level, so I wouldn't even bother charting this. This, you are kind of had a big wick through. If you came back down to this weekly level over here, it's kind of like, you know, I'm not like, this isn't one, this is kind of one that, like, you could chart again if you wanted to keep an eye on it. But for me, the more relevant level is actually right here. So this is a weekly level, relatively close to your monthly, but it's like far enough away, I would say, so that you would want to chart it, because I mean, that's actually like a pretty decent move. But again, your weekly level formed here this week. Again, this is got a nice back test here, push off to the upside. But basically, like, if you lost, so like, this monthly level is important, but if you lost this weekly level, you know, you do technically have a bit of support here, but just judging by the reaction right here, this is kind of iffy. Which actually, you could put it, I'll tell you why in a second, like, why this level is actually like worth kind of watching. Is simply because if you make this, like, if you see where my line is, right, I could actually pull this right here, and it's very close. Like, that's basically your weekly level, and you have a nice wick reaction here, push back, and then like a massive move, right? So this is an important level, going back all the way, you know, back to the beginning of the year. So something that I would probably keep an eye on, but not like, again, this is more important to me by far. This is a very clean level. This one is a little bit iffy, but worth watching. And that is all of the weekly levels that I would put on. I mean, you could put one here. You could put one here, but you can see we've tested it, rejected, broke through. Maybe you back tested it on lower time frames, but we pushed off. As far as I'm concerned, like, this level's pretty much done, right? So like, again, here's another one. There's another weekly level. And I would consider this one, like, I wouldn't bother with this one at this point. Let me just change it just so you can see again. You see how many levels you start to get on your chart? But the reason is similar to the last one. So again, you broke up through this weekly level and then you got a back test and a big move up. So, I mean, this is like still relevant, but as far as like levels, kind of like keeping your chart cleaner, this isn't as high priority, you know, in my opinion. So like, you know, that's just my opinion. Like, you don't have to have these two levels on here, but in a way, like, they are worth monitoring, just because of like the type of respect that they've had on this time frame, right? And I would say that this one's actually respected quite well on the weekly time frame. So if I was gonna keep one, I would keep the top one. And again, like, I'm not trying to like complicate it. Again, you can either have them on or you don't need those two on. I don't think, because like they've already been, so like this one's important because it's, you know, it's not violated, right? Like basically you have, you know, your level formed, you have a nice touch and a move to the upside. This one is kind of an older level, but you have your push through it, back test here. So it's like, does this survive another back test? Maybe it does, which is kind of, again, why I would possibly, you know, I would look to maybe keep this one on here. But that's kind of up to you. And and like, not to overcomplicate things, but as you do these levels more and more, and your trade, like, you'll start to see which levels are important and which aren't, right? So again, like, you can kind of see how many levels I have already, and this is kind of a lot. So like, what I do sometimes when I'm done charting my levels is I will go back through my levels and remove the ones that are not as important, which we probably are going to do. So this weekly level at 15 bucks, which is the one I believe, is this the one? Yes, so this is the one that we chose to keep. We didn't bother keeping this one, but this one we chose to keep because of the reasons that I explained earlier. When you go down to a daily time frame, right? So this is your weekly level. Look what happens when price comes up to meet it. Rejection, close above, and look at all these back tests as support. So what was once resistance, close above, support, push off to the upside. Let me take a drink for a second. So that level is absolutely relevant, because price action is showing you like this level is incredibly relevant, right? But to my question earlier, does this survive another test? If price comes back down to test this again as support, does it survive another test? I don't know, but it's worth keeping because you see the respect that this level got, right? All right. So like, here's a nice day level here, but the monthly level again supersedes it. That's more important. So I'm not even going to bother. When you see levels like this, so this is a good example. Here's one, and I should change it so you know what I'm doing. So here's a day level, big wick through it though, wouldn't bother. Same thing here, right? I mean, you get a wick through it. This one is a little, you know, this one is a little different. Because this day level, again, you get this wick, you get a clear wick through it, but then you get a massive rejection here. Maybe I'm aware of this, but if you don't have this on your chart, again, I wouldn't kind of blame you. And then like up here, you could have this day level just to be aware, but essentially just looking at the wicks and the level's basically $30 is like the important level, right? But you could have this on here. I wouldn't bother. So where would be a day level that makes sense? So here was one. This was a nice day level. But this is obviously, well, look at the respect, right? So you have a day level here. Price comes up, initial rejection, you know, another wick through, which kind of like cleans this up. So like you see when you get a big wick through, like it basically, like there was price action trading through this daily already, which probably makes it, you know, probably essentially gets rid of this day level, and then you push up through it. So this is definitely done. It's not relevant anymore. You can delete it, but I just wanted to show you, like, when price action, before price action came up to this day level, that's why you would have marked that daily level. Again, nice respect here, right? So when I'm marking daily levels, again, the lower time frame you go, the closer to where price action is you go. Unless you're charting, like, basically, if like you see how this is all-time high, right? So this is like your all-time high, your last like major swing high. This, you would start here looking for daily levels, because price is, obviously moved way off from these levels up here, and then now it's coming up here to the upside, right? So now you're wanting to find these possible daily resistances. But again, the monthly level here cleans this up, and these wicks kind of make these less relevant to me. So I'm not really gonna bother charting those, just because, again, like they're kind of not very clean to a degree. But so what I do is I'm gonna move towards current price action here. And again, like I could put a daily level here, but again, you get wicks, like kind of long wicks through it, right? So I'm not going to bother. This weekly level is more important. This is a clean, untouched daily level right here. See how the daily level is formed? No backtest yet. So if this weekly level, which we know is an important level, if that's lost, your next immediate support zone, or support level, would be this daily SR level here that's untouched. And you can kind of think of this in a way, like if you're in Discord right now and you've seen how I've been talking about the daily level that I said is like really important, that you really don't want to lose, which we currently have lost. You can think of it the same way. So if you lose this weekly, you don't really want to lose this daily, because then you're going to start moving, like then you have your next, which right here, here's another clean daily level, untouched. So you see, you basically like take this level to level, right? Level to level. Here's one, but it's basically the same daily level. You see? So here's a daily level. I'll just mark it just so you can see it. Daily level forms, next day back test, bit of a rejection, then you push through, but it's almost identical to this level here, right? So you don't even bother, but yes, this is a daily level. I know people are gonna ask. And then again, this is a daily level, but your monthly is sitting here. So after that, I'm done. Right? And like you could mark this one if you really want. This is like your lowest level, way down here at 945, but this is a level. Okay. So here are all of your levels. In my opinion, these are the relevant levels. Now, if I wanted to, I would go up and I could clean a couple of these levels up that aren't super relevant. But what I would prefer to do is actually go and, basically go to your folder down here, and you can you can actually clean these up and put these in sections. So like what I might do, just to show you real quick, let me see where this one is. So that's 17. So this one is the macro value area levels that I did in the very beginning. So you could create a group of drawings, rename this macro value area, something like that. I think your point of control is right there. So again, we'll drag this here and then hide these. So you just, this little eye right here, you just hide them and then they go away. So these levels, create a group of drawings. You could name these, you don't have to do this, but I just like to do this to keep my charts clean. So you could do like SR under $10. And every level that's under $10, you could just put in this folder. That way you know, like, because you don't have to look at this on your chart, right? So let's find this one. This one's right here. Close it. So you see what happens? You shut it off and then they go away. So this yearly level, so you can just come hover over it and you see how it highlights this, right? You see that? So that way you know where it is. And then you could drag this again to your SR levels under $10 and close and turn the eye off. And basically, like, that's how you can clean your chart up, right? And you can actually move these folders too. And you know, like there's a lot of customization that you can actually do for your charts. But anyway, that way you only keep more relevant levels on, and you don't have to look at all of this stuff that makes it kind of harder to chart. Okay, so you don't have to do this, but if if you want to try to keep your charts as clean as possible, again, like when you have a bunch of levels that are up here, so let's say that you're trading down here, and you might have a lot of day levels or weekly levels or whatever it is around here that's not relevant to price right now, and you want to just kind of get rid of them. But you don't necessarily want to delete it and have to redo all your work. All you do is make folders, and then you can hide the things you don't want to see. So just, wow, we hit the top of cloud. So now I'm going to kind of switch again. Like we did all of the levels. I really kind of wanted to take my time with this one because I thought it was important to, like, again, break the levels down, explain why I thought they were important, why they weren't important. The next one, I'm obviously going to go through a lot quicker because I don't want to make this a 4-hour video. But check Ichimoku, you hit the top of cloud. So as far as your edge-to-edge trade goes, it's done. It's over with. Nice, long, flat Kumo here, magnet for price. You hit it. So target's hit. So basically what you're looking for now is either a pullback, right, to test some lower support. So wherever your Tenkan or your Kijun is, because your cloud's still bearish. It's obviously single span is moving up to the upside though. It's thinning out, which is what you want to see. But again, you're either looking for a pullback or you're looking for a close above. That's kind of the next two things that you're looking for here. Obviously your quarterly level. So that's Ichimoku. I'm going to turn this off. Quarterly level, you're currently above it, so that's really strong. Your monthly here is really important though. This is a big level. So that's kind of one of the first things that I do is I turn Ichimoku on just to get a quick snapshot. What does it look like? And a day time frame gives me all the information that I really need to see. I can switch time frames, right? So I could go to a 12-hour. I like 12-hour a lot. 12 hours bullish, like very bullish. Cloud's already flip bullish. This is very bullish. Obviously, like price is starting to like really rip away. But look at the angle, the slope of your Tenkan and Kijun. It's like vertical, right? So obviously this is really bullish. Again, back on this time frame again. Like I just like to see where are my levels, where is price in relation to cloud, where is price in relation to Tenkan and Kijun. Is that like where's your Chiku span, right? Which is like inside cloud, kind of coming up to the top here. And like is cloud bearish or bullish? Like you just take a real quick snapshot, see if anything's lining up. Obviously, like this is a big deal. Price hitting the top of this cloud and rejecting so far. So like we know that. Next thing I do, which is usually the first or second thing, is Ichimoku and fibs. Those are the first kind of two things that I look for. And I'm going to pull, so again, your all-time high. So I'm going to pull a bearish Fibonacci retracement. Left to right. All-time high to your swing low. Okay? And this is going to give me my fib levels, which I already see something that I really like. Is this. So this is your golden pocket. And where is your golden pocket? Well, it's pretty darn close to your monthly level. So I like this confluence. This telling me this is giving strength to this monthly level being a very, very important level, right? It's not perfectly sitting on it, but it's very close. So this is telling me again that like this monthly level is going to have more resistance than I initially thought, more than likely, right? So like this is something to be very well aware of. Definitely something to be aware of. So I'm going to delete this. So I have different fib settings set, right? So you see how this kind of adds a lot of lines to your chart? Well, if I right click this, I actually have a template for the golden pocket already. And you can see what happens, okay? So right click, so golden pocket, and it gets rid of everything except for the golden pocket. So that way you know where you pulled from, right? Because I could delete this And you just see, and you see this on my chart sometimes, like that will tell you where the golden pocket is. But for people who want to remember where you pulled it from, you could just set it or get rid of the other lines and just be aware of this level. So another thing that I like to do is I like to find my volume from the high to the low. Well, high to current price action. Point of control is way down here. Wow, so there's not a lot. So most of it's obviously down here, which makes sense considering the amount of time that we spent down here. We're above our value area high. So I'm going to do, this is very bullish. So like we're out of this range, very nice range, by the way. But we're out of this range and we're basically we're breaking out. So this is not that relevant to me. There's nothing, like if you look at this, sometimes the volume will still be up here. Like that becomes very relevant. For this, it's not. So I'm just looking at this, so looking at this, it's pretty interesting. Like you have this range here that we discussed earlier, right? Where you came, you had this breakout, major all-time high, and price came exactly back to this huge range value area high, right? Came exactly back to that. Well, if you look here, you have a pretty nice range also, right? And you are sitting right at your point of control of this range. So big, massive range here. Nice range here. Price breaks down, forms another nice range. Now you've broken out of this range. Price is coming back into this old range. So these value area levels are pretty important. So you can mark these off. And I'm just going to name this big range value area low, point of control, and your value area high. And delete. So do these levels again. You can see like why you kind of want to clean your charts up, because you start to add all these levels and it gets really, really messy. But price actually came up into your value area low. You've currently reclaimed back in your value area low. You've rejected off your point of control. This is pretty crazy. So if you reclaim, so basically like you see how this quarterly level, right, was the only time-based level that we had here. We didn't have these value areas. So you might be thinking like, okay, so if I reclaim this quarterly level, then we're coming straight up here, right? Well, there's actually, again, we just found a very, very massively big level here because we found our range value areas from our old range. Again, you identify this price action, very nice range, coming back up into your point of control. So this is the level to watch. This is the level you want to see reclaimed. If you see this level reclaimed, high probability you're moving up to this zone. And this gets to be, so like you have your value area high, you have your golden pocket, you have your monthly level. So it's really this zone between 22.74 and 24.20, whatever, right? It's basically this zone. You would expect to see a lot of resistance in this area. You have a lot of things lining up, right? So like there's quite a few, and again, I haven't even gotten to pivots and all that. I'm not sure if I'm going to bother. I guess I might as well take a quick look. I would probably use higher time frame pivots. Like you see if there's any weekly pivots. Your R4 weekly pivot was basically, again, you rejected right off your R3 weekly pivot at the moment, but your R4 is lining up right with your monthly. So again, another confluence level. Switch to monthly, see if there's anything on the monthly level. Your R4 is sitting at your range value area high, so that's telling you that's pretty important. So like again, like we know that there's a lot of resistance in this zone to be aware of. So reclaim your point of control. then you're looking up to this region. But expect a lot of resistance here. If you were able to reclaim this value area high, then your next target is very likely this weekly level. So that's how you trade, like level to level, right? So we know this is an important level, range point of control, old range point of control. Reclaim this, very likely coming up to this zone. You reclaim your value area high, you're very likely coming up to this weekly level. And then obviously, like if you reclaim this weekly, you're probably going much higher. So that's your resistances, right? Now, support. For me, it's one level that I see right away that you really want to hold. It's just the value area low of this range. That's a pretty important level. We don't have any dailies. Again, you don't have any real support until back down to this weekly. So like as fast as you go up, like you can come back down. Just like you definitely can. So like I would really want to see this, essentially the former range value area low. Like you want to see this held as support. Because if you lose this, then you start looking for pullback targets again, this weekly level. So let's hypothetically say this is the high, which I don't know. I'm not sure it's the high. One fib pull that I see right away is here, right? So like your golden pocket is lining up with this daily level. You could definitely pull your fib from here, which is it's not your all-time low, but it's your swing low, right? All-time high. This is your current swing low. So this is absolutely like a super relevant pull. And your golden pocket is lining up very nicely with this monthly level. So we know this monthly level is important, right? But again, this is assuming this is the high. I'm not saying this is the high. But that's essentially like what you would do to find pullback targets, right? Pull your fib, check your pivots, that type of stuff. And like look for pullback targets. Like look for confluence levels, okay? But again, I talked about this, the upside, what the resistances are, in my opinion. To the downside, this is the level you want to see held. Otherwise, we're probably coming back to test, $17. You probably have a bit of support around $16.70 to $70 like that. And then before you're going to come back down and test this weekly, very likely. So that's Adam. I spent a lot of time talking about it, but I thought it was important, again, to break down levels. So let's get into a different chart. Let's just pick what's kind of what's one I haven't seen in a really long time. Link. We can look at Link. I haven't looked at Link in a little while, I don't think. Yeah. We'll take a look at Link. So I'm going to go through this very quickly. Again, macro value area high. Massive move to the upside. Come down to your macro value area high, right? You can go below it a little bit, reclaim it, big move up. But again, this is a pretty important level. Start off on my high time frames. See what's what. I'm not going to put that. I mean, that's basically like a few cents. We'll put this one to be aware of it. Not going to bother. This monthly here is an important level. It's untouched, right? Price has not come back up here. This is very important. Here's another important monthly level. Untouched. That's what we like to see. It's very important. One here. Untouched. Those are the three I'm going to keep. Move to your weekly. Wow, look at this. It's just like no wick. It's rare to see this something like this. Really, really, really rare to see something like this. would definitely pay attention to. I mean, if we come back up to 52, I'd pay a lot of attention to that. It's like very rare. Weekly level, macro value high. I already know that's important. And price already right. I'm not going to bother. Going on your daily, but you see how fast, when you're not here talking, sitting, trying to explain everything, you see how quickly you can actually do these. Untouched, right? So this is a nice day level. This is a clean day level too, but it's your weekly. So the weekly, obviously, the higher time frame. More important. I'm going to chart these. These are ones that you could put away. Like if you remember when I was charting Adam and I made the folder over here, right? Like these ones, you don't always need to keep all these on your chart, but they're very relevant. So these 3 day levels I would be aware of, but you probably put those away. Maybe like set an alert here, and if price starts moving up, then you can unlock them. That way you have these ready to go. But these are all relevant day levels. And this one is really interesting. Like this is this is like, you see this much confluence here. It's not perfect. So you see like how like it's off by just a hair, but this is definitely an area. Like what you can do is actually make a little zone out of this too. You could do something like this if you really wanted to. It's super tight, like meaning like it's not very far off, so I'm not gonna do that, but you can. But this is a day level. Sometimes you'll see me like mark this as a key level, just because like it's very like, look at the amount of respect here, right? So price, and like I'll tell you why this is important. So price came up here, right? Closure, rejection, close, big rejection. Like price could not get, like you have a couple little wicks, which is why I would kind of make that box that I did, right? Because there's you could essentially use this as like a liquidity zone. But a lot of attempts were made to break higher and you couldn't. Price rejected big to the downside. So like this, these are daily levels, but I would probably keep this as a key level, just because, like, again, that's like just walking you through this price action right here. This is really, really important. So these are all your daily levels to the upside. And you can kind of see, again, there's a lot of them. So like you could folder them and get rid of them. That way you don't have to stare at them. And then price is through all of this. So I'm not going to bother with this section of price action, if that makes sense, right? I'm not going to mark all the daily levels here just because like price is already through these. So I don't care. That's old news, right? So now let's mark our current levels, which again, here, big level. Very close to each other. Here's a day level here and day level here. It's kind of the same situation you had here, right? Wicks through, but here's your new day level and it's untouched. So basically $28. Here is a day level right here. Price is currently sitting on it right now. So if you want to, you can mark this, but like this is a day level. There's a day level. You see how many of these you get sometimes though? And like this is probably the last one I would mark. And then you can mark this low. It's untouched. But like here's your supports, right? So you came up to resistance. So this quarterly level, actually pretty nice resistance. Formed a new daily. You haven't come back to backtest yet on like the day time frame. Obviously you came down to your next day level support. If you lose this, then you start looking to your lower levels, literally level to level, right? And this looks like a very possibility of a high. Like this looks like a decent potential, right? So one fib pull that I want to pull right now is your swing low up to your current high. And what do you see? Surprise, surprise, right? Look where your golden pocket is. Sitting right here on this monthly at 1950. We know monthly levels are really important. So if this continues to pull back, you lose your support levels, you come down to this monthly, you know that this is probably a pretty important level. Probably a very important level. Anytime I see golden pocket lining up with a monthly, that's like alert, alert, pay attention. Okay. One thing I haven't shown is I do have EMAs. So interesting enough, you came up to your 200-day moving average. That is governing your price action right now. So this is confluence. You have your 200-day moving average sitting right here at your daily level, and you could not close above it. Literally come up to it, rejection, rejection, rejection. Say that it's rejection because this is more like consolidation underneath 200-day. Wick through, this is closed below, right? Rejection, rejection, price is moving lower. So this 200-day moving average is pretty critical, right? And now, like, these ones I will talk about in, like, when I do the moving average tutorial, like, just to kind of talk you through these. But essentially, like, they're all related to Fibonacci. So I will go over that later, but I just wanted to take a look at it and see kind of what it looked like. And that's actually really interesting. So again, 200-day moving average, very relevant to current price actions. It's something to pay attention to if you're trading Link. But again, level to level. So you're literally, this is your immediate resistance at $28. Reclaim this, looks like you're likely headed higher, right? So like if you're able to reclaim this day level, then you're probably going to give a shot at these highs again. And, you know, if I had to guess, you know, as long, you know, especially Bitcoin and ETH are showing strength at the time, you're probably going to push up and test, you know, this key level here. But if you lose this day level, these are your next supports below. So literally support 1, support 2, and then this is like a major, massive support, in my opinion. And you could turn on your pivots and look at this. So came up through your R2 monthly pivot. Where's your monthly pivot? Wow. How's that for confluence? Your monthly pivot, I don't know if you can see it. It's literally in your golden pocket. So you have your monthly pivot, you have your golden pocket, you have the monthly level. Something to pay attention to. And like, look how well these line up. Your S1 monthly pivot, macro value high, like these line up very nicely. So that's Link. You have your resistance to the upside, talked about that. You have your supports to the downside. We identified what supports those were. And again, one thing I could do is go standard and, you know, like even look at this, your 0.5 fib lines up with your daily SR level. Your 382 is sitting right here. So if this is like a really, really bullish uptrend, you really want to see your 382 held. If you get a nice bounce off your 382 and you start reclaiming this daily, then that's kind of giving you like an inkling that we could be going higher, like to test some higher levels. So that's something to think about. So I'm going to revert this back. And then obviously we didn't look at this yet, I don't think. So here is Ichimoku. Obviously you're bullish. You came, so again, you made your high here. Made your high, came back down, tested your Tenkan, but you're currently kind of losing it, right? So where's your next level? Your Kijun. And where's your Kijun? Sitting right here at your daily level. Where's your golden pocket? Oh my goodness, where's your golden pocket? Look at the bottom of cloud. How amazing is that, right? That these levels line up like that. But anyway, so like from a Fibonacci perspective, I'm sorry, from an Ichimoku perspective, right? You see why I like to kind of overlay these sometimes? And not sometimes, I do it pretty frequently, but it adds confluence to certain levels. So when you see, again, Kijun lining right with this level, you know like that there is validity to this level. Obviously, it was respected really well. Like, look at this. So you made your daily level, perfect test, move up. Perfect test, big move up, right? This is a very important level at $22. And it's now your Kijun, so that adds even more strength to this level. You lose this, you see how the cloud dipping right into your golden pocket. You know, it depends when it happens, obviously, but again, like you love to see that kind of confluence. And then your day level was literally the top of cloud. Cloud's dipped a bit. But kind of as it sits, it's kind of looking like Again, you lose this daily level, it's definitely looking like you're going to come and at least test. If I had to guess, probably this around key June. That's Link. So we busted through that one. I think it took a lot less time, right? Let's pick another one. But like for those, I've kind of got like a few like, you know, like how do you, so like when you get your level set up, right? How do you look for trades? Well, I kind of just talked you through it. You know, obviously like I didn't go through the full entry and exit because I like to do those more kind of like as price comes down to where my entry is going to be, right? Like, so like I made it pretty clear that like this level, this zone is really important to me. If I'm trading Link, like, and I get a chance, you know, like price starts coming down here, I'm definitely interested in a trade. But like, how would I structure this trade? Well, it's kind of, I mean, I could do it right now, but it's like, I would prefer to wait a bit, right? And like, see how price is reacting, see what's going on with the rest of the market. Because like, I could get my trade set up and be like, okay, well, I would look to long this zone. My stop loss would be, you know, like, wherever it is. My target would be this. But like, you don't know what the market is going to look like when price, like if price finally does come down here, right? Like the market could, we could lose some massive level. Things could get really, really ugly. And then like, why would you, like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like, you have to look at like basically like the context of what's going on in the market at the time. So, you know, like that's kind of like the best, like the best advice that I could give is when you find a level like this, set alerts at like the nearest support level, right? That's above it. So like if you're really eyeing this level, then I could, you know, or like if you're eyeing this level, set an alert here. That kind of gives you a heads up that price might be coming to test like your level that you're interested in, right? So for me, I'd say like, right, like if we took all these lows, I'm going to add an alert here. Watch for GP, which is golden pocket. There's my alert. So if price comes through this last important support that we identified, take these lows, like it's going to alert me to say, hey, like we're coming to your zone, get ready, essentially, right? And look, you know, be prepared. That way I can see the market in real time and see like what, like how do things look? But anyway, like that's kind of like how you can prepare yourself to get ready to trade something that you might be interested in trading. So we're going to find another alt. Let's find something random. If I scroll down, there's AVAX is one. I guess I could chart that one. Yeah, let's, oh man, this looks like an interesting one. We'll chart it. Again, I chart this just because I always like to know where it is, regardless of how ridiculous the level is, right? Like you're obviously literally, we're at 31 bucks, point of control is down at $3, like irrelevant to current price action, but this is the one that I always want to know anyway. This isn't old enough to have a yearly, is it? Not even worth it. Clearly nothing there. Quarterly level here. Obviously, like prices, excuse me, prices through it, right? But for back test purposes, like if like this could end up being like a confluence level for like some kind of back test, maybe. So that I am interested in it. Again, because it's such a high time frame level. If this was a day level or something, I might not bother, right? But I am, because it's such a high time frame level, I always kind of want these on my chart. And here's a super clean one, way back at 1194, untouched, very clean. Wow, look at these wicks. That's insane. So you're coming up to your monthly. This is a big level. This is the biggest level that you really have left. If you start reclaiming 3280, then it's like, I mean, there's a lot of wicks here, which maybe there's some smaller, weekly, daily time frame, I'm sure. But from a monthly perspective, it sure looks pretty darn good, right? If you close a monthly above here, it starts to look pretty interesting. And then look at your quarterly level. That, like, this is a monthly and almost a back test, right? This is so like this monthly here, but quarterly is a higher time frame, so you leave it alone. But yeah, this is pretty big level. Up to weekly, and you have some weekly levels here. There's a weekly level. This is, I mean, this is a really important level. And then you really don't have anything until here. So far, this is a pretty clean chart. Dailies, you got a lot. So like, have one here. I like dailies like this. And this is kind of, again, like if you look between this daily and this weekly, there's just a lot of resistance here. You see these wicks, right? Big, I mean, these are like pretty big rejections. And then finally, like, price comes down. This day level, though, is like literally day level and is a massive move down. So this is definitely one that I want to have on the charts. And then here, which is probably close to your all-time high. That's a pretty important level. And look at this. Day level forms. Next day, you get a perfect back test of your day level as resistance. And then, I mean, think about it. Like, this is literally your high, right? Big move down. So this is relevant. You reclaim this, obviously, like, you're probably going all-time high. But these are the levels that are relevant to me. Again, I guess here's another one. Could have missed that one. But again, this is another day level that's untouched. Price hasn't come up to it yet. And that's it for me. So now we can kind of shift gears into analysis time, right? First thing I'm going to do, I already see a fib that I want to pull. And you're in it right now. So you are in the golden pocket. You hit your 6.6. And this still looks pretty good. I mean, this really does still look pretty darn good. So the monthly level, if you're able to reclaim this monthly, level to level, right? Monthly level, reclaim 3280, you're probably going up to 36, 37 bucks. Basically like right back into this zone where all these wicks are. It's basically this daily / weekly levels of kind of the next zone. You reclaim this weekly and like these are your targets, right? So there's a lot of upside to AVAX. I mean, there's like the levels are relative. Like this is actually a very clean chart, like very, very clean chart. And to the downside, right? So we did all the resistances. We didn't finish out your supports. And like the last thing to do here is your daily levels, which there's one right here, way down here at 18 bucks. So like this is your closest. I mean, again, you can do all of these if you really want to. But, and like, this is probably stuff. So like, I mean, you can do, I guess I should just do one. And I'm more curious about the untouched stuff. So like, there are a few other days, but I'm not interested in that because those are already like, they're not useful anymore, in my opinion. So I only really like the untouched stuff, which is these levels that you see here. So these are what I would say are like your minor, like these are supports to the downside. So you have this massive move here. You're into resistance right now. So this is something to kind of think about. Quarterly level, pretty big, pretty important level. If that's lost, then you could start to look for potential deeper pullbacks. Because there's just, again, there's no support built up on a move like this. I mean, you probably have some lower time frame levels, but really, like, there's just not a lot of support built up here. So you have a nice grind higher and then an explosion, right? Like you could have kind of a blow off move here and like a pretty deep, like a deeper retrace. It's potential. But from an SR standpoint, again, these are really your closest supports that you have, and they're pretty far away. So that's something to keep in mind. Obviously, I want to turn this on. Wow, it's like completely blown out. You haven't even back tested the top of cloud yet. So the top of cloud is kind of another thing that you could pay attention to, right? So like if you know Ichimoku, like you could like this is so it's you blew through this. Like this was a pretty important level, resistance level. You blew through it. Does it hold a support on a retest? So this is a level. I mean, again, you have Ichimoku. You don't need to like mark this on here or anything like that, but that's something to be aware of is the top of this cloud. And obviously you have your Tenkan and Kijun. See what happens. You know, again, if you do get a pullback, you could potentially look for these as supports, support levels as well. But that's, again, like this video is technically only about these levels. So, let's see here. And then, what was I doing? Just give me a second. Sorry, I gotta get my thoughts together. It blew out, like, look at this. You blew out your monthly pivots already. So for the month of August, your pivots are completely blown. Which is, I mean, that happens when you have really explosive moves like this to the upside, right? So then you need to switch. And like, I'm kind of wondering, yearly is probably completely blown out. They're way down here. So then you got to look at weekly pivots and you are blown out. Again, you're above your R5. So like, when I see stuff like this, it's a bit caution, right? When you're like, this tells you that you are like, this is a pretty massive move. Okay, so like that is something to be aware of. It's just like you have to be careful. You have to be careful with stuff that like is like this is a parabolic type move, right? So like again, like if you're buying right here, you're literally buying resistance. I don't like so. I mean, I would at least wait for a monthly reclaim, something like that, right, before I would jump in. But like people are buying here, and you're literally buying resistance. One pull I didn't do was from all-time high to swing low. This is another form that I should have done. Like this is another pull you definitely want to be aware of. And the interesting thing about this, so if you look at where your 618 is, it's like, and it's essentially this golden pocket, right? If you slide this over, like this is kind of like, this is a very important zone. So this is another thing to be aware of, right? So like if you clear this weekly, technically like your all-time high to your swing low, like this is definitely another zone to be aware of. I'm just curious. Nothing really. I mean, your 382 lined up perfectly with your quarterly, but you're above that. Pretty important support to hold though, that quarterly. Again, like you have your levels to the upside. You have important resistance. This monthly is a big deal to me though. If you reclaim this monthly, these are your next levels, right? So like, I'm not telling you to long a breakout of them, you know, breakout on a retest of the monthly, but like that's it. Like if I had to trade AVAX for some crazy reason, you know, I would just be super careful about a move like this. But like that's kind of what I would look for, right? And then like these, again, these are your support levels. So like if you reclaim this monthly, this, you know, macro value high is less, I would say it's less relevant for a trade like this, but it's a level. But definitely your quarterly level, you want to see this held. You lose your quarterly, I already said, like you could, you know, there's not a lot of support built up right here. Like it could be pretty steep. You know, obviously you have Ichimoku. There were some levels there, but from just a straight SR, looking at your levels here, there's just not a lot in between this quarterly and these daily. So that's something to keep in mind. Support, resistance, right? You're kind of like in this little zone right here. So that is AVAX. Trying to think. I think that's probably good. I don't want to, this is going to turn into a really long video. Let me check something. Just give me a second. So what are we at? We're like a little over an hour. I guess I could do one more. I'm running out of water though. So again, like these are your relevant SR levels and kind of like how I would look to trade them, right? Well, I can tell you one thing. I missed a couple of things that I like to do. That's what I was doing. When I was trying to figure out my life and what I was missing, this is what I was missing. And you just clear your point of control. So like I'm taking a pull from your all-time high, essentially your all-time high move, all the way until current price action. So this, your broker, your point of control lines up really nicely with this quarterly level. So which gives you even more reason, right? If you start to lose your quarterly level and this point of control, then that starts to look more bearish. So like that's something, you know, you could get a little bit deeper pullback. So this adds validity to this quarterly level. Definitely does. And then where's your value area high? Well, it's basically like sitting here at your golden pocket, like this retracement, right? So that's also something to think about. Like this is resistance. You reclaimed your point of control. So from like that perspective, I mean, there's another volume node though. You see right here, this could just as easily be a point of control right here. I don't know if you can tell, but like the volume node is really big here too. So you have like your point of control, but then you have another like, and then it kind of like dips in, and then here's like a high volume node here as well that's sitting right in your golden pocket, like literally right where price is. So like it's exactly where price is right now. So if you reclaim your monthly, right? Again, what happens to volume? It starts to die off, right? You see that? So if you reclaim this monthly, little bit of an easier road in my opinion to start pushing up. So that gives me a little bit more confluence saying, hey, yeah, if you're able to reclaim this, probably going to push up and test some of these higher levels. So that's AVAX. Sorry, I'm just checking a couple of things on my other computer. All right, let's look for one more chart. Let's try something different. Let's do a Bitcoin pairing. I guess, well, I don't know. Maybe I'll keep it to USD just because it's kind of easy. You know, Bitcoin pairings, when you have all these decimals and stuff, it gets a little harder to kind of be clear. So I'm just trying to find something that I just... What's one that people like? Here's one. Let me see if this is one that I want to do. I don't know. It's gonna kind of like check that out. This is like your last daily, right? And look where your rejection was. Price basically came right up to it. Big. I mean, that's a big rejection. Sure looks like a big rejection. Let me see. Yeah, 30% rejection. You see that? Like to where your candle closed. Obviously prices come back up, but I mean like, wow. We might as well chart this while we're here. But look, I mean, the first level you see, very clear, important daily level. And what happens? It's an untouched, right? Daily level made, untouched, price, big move to the downside. The first time price comes back up to test this critical level, massive rejection, huge rejection, crazy. Let's finish it out. Trying to make this a quick one. Again, this looks pretty similar to all the other ones. Macro value area high, price breaks through, consolidation a little bit, big move out. Okay. Nothing there. Again, pretty similar. I mean, I'm kind of hoping this is kind of similar to the last chart we did. It's looking real similar, actually. Starting to wish I picked a different one, but either way, Yeah, this is actually looking, this is like real similar to the last chart with the AVAX that we just did, I'm pretty sure. Here's a monthly, but it's your quarterly. Feel like, again, here's your monthly, but here, like, this is a quarterly level, so that's higher time frame. More important, so you have no monthlies on this chart. I mean, you do, but like they're higher time frames, so you leave those alone. That's probably a first. And then like here, this is a little bit tough, right? So like you have a weekly level here, which I would probably mark, but you blew right through it. You know, I guess we'll leave this and see if there was anything, if this was respected on lower time frame. That'd be interesting to see. So we will, hopefully I'll remember to take a look at that. And then really here is the closest weekly you have that is relevant. Not a lot of levels on this one, which I guess is kind of nice. Again, like this is one that you could chart but put away. I mean, this is irrelevant. Like 37 cents, but you're at, 320. This might be a really quick one. Like, look at your quarterly level. Lost, back test, rejection, almost came back up to again, rejection, big move to the downside. And like no closure, so you get a lot of wicks though. So like even this weekly. So here is obviously like a very, very relevant level. I would say these are all gone. So then I would shift all the way over to current price action and see literally the closest daily that I would mark is here. But I mean, think about like what this would look like if you retrace all the way back to this daily. You would retrace this entire pump. Like, think about that. Wouldn't look very good, would it? But again, like on low time frames, this is something to think about. There's just not like there's not a lot of support that's being built up on this move. It's like you like grinding moves like this. Like this is like, this is, I guess you would say like this is healthier when you have massive just runs like this. I mean, just from the impulse to the high is about 158%, 159%. And that's within a span of 2 days, right? So like you have to be really careful. It's not to say like this can't continue, but you have your levels to monitor, right? You have a weekly level. Again, it's kind of blew through it a little bit. But this day level is the level to watch. You reclaim this day level and then you start trying to pull fib extension. I mean, obviously, like this is your all-time high, so you would need to break that first. I'm going to pull one of these just for fun. See if anything lines up. And like, look at this, right? So you had a golden pocket here. It wasn't respected. Again, maybe on low time frame, but that's your golden pocket. Right through it. 786 hitting right on his day low, like fib confluence right here on his day level. Add strength. Really nice to see. So I'm going to delete this because it's useless, right? I'm not interested in it. But again, your 786 day level, I like that. Let me see if your pivots are blown out. Sure, of course they are. So kind of useless. So you go all the way down to a daily, then I got to switch time frames. So your R2 pivot is basically your high, your day level, 786. So this is a big level. And then here's your support. So like your S1 to the downside, right? So that's a support level to be aware of. And then here are your pivots for today. See how insane this is? Like that's all due, like again, high volatility. So your pivots are very, like they're spaced out. So these are something, look at your R3. Your R3 pivot is your 886. I like how that lines up. Your R4 is your all-time high. So the pivots for, again, this is for today only. Pivots are going to change tomorrow, but just for today, I really like how these line up quite a bit. And then I'm sure, be surprised, Ichimoku's probably blown out. Yep. I mean, this is, so like flip bullish. This is obviously bullish, right? But there's not a whole lot to go off of here. Like when you see, like once this happens, from like, if you're looking at this from strictly an Ichimoku perspective, like there's just not a lot. Like I would trade something else, honestly, like until you see price develop. Just because like once you're here, I mean, sure, you can look for like retracements, right? So blew out, close above, wick way up here. And then on this candle, the candle after, you came very close to back testing your Tenkin again. You actually had a nice Tenkin retest on this day where you had like a massive, your current swing high here. But, so like these are levels that you can look for, but there's just not, there's not a whole lot to look at based off of this. I mean, you could possibly go on lower time frames and see if anything's following it like really, really nicely. That's that. So wrap up audio. It's pretty cut and dry in my opinion. Like, be very careful of moves like this. It's not to say this can continue. I mean, my goodness, I don't know what's going on with the audio. Maybe they have some news coming out, something like that. Bottom line is though, 786 daily level. This is like big time. Daily pivot was also here, right? I mean, not your daily pivot, but one of the pivots was lining up with this, if I'm not mistaken. So this is your level. You reclaim this, and you're gonna like you probably, next target 450. And then $5. I mean, literally, like those are the two targets above here. That were, there was some other confluences that was line. I think your pivots were lining up with these perfectly. But to the downside, gets a little more questionable. Again, your support. There's really no supports, right? This quarterly level, like it's been kind of wicked through quite a bit here, but that's something that like you would want, you really hope to see held. What you can do to kind of wrap this up is, so I'm going to delete this fib. Again, you can just keep this in mind, right? It is important. One thing you can do is start going on lower time frames. So the lower time frames for me are 4 hours. So when done with daily, I will go down to a 4 hour. And look, the weekly level is a 4 hour level. Okay, I'm not going to do it because literally your weekly level's here. So this is kind of like what you want to do when you, so remember I was wondering like if this level was going to be that important, right? So you go to weekly level. I remember I was like, it wicked right through this weekly level. I said, maybe go on and look at some lower time frames and see if it was even respected. Because if it wasn't, then you probably don't really like want to pay too much attention. But by going to a 4 hour, it's respected. You got your wick up through the daily, but look at where your closures were. And this actually made a 4 hour level that's untouched. So this weekly level, and again, I'm not going to switch this to a 4 hour level because your weekly obviously supersedes it. But this validates us as, hey, this weekly level is valid and it's very important. So something to keep in mind. Here's your 4 hour level. I actually have a template here. So this is a clean 4 hour level. Here's another one. So now you're talking like local support, right? Here's technically one, but you kind of got to wig through it. This isn't as important. I guess I'll mark it. I'll tell you why in a second. It's just because this wick right here is the same level. Price came off, rejection, moved off, major level, backed off. You got a little bit of a wick through here, but again, like from like a very localized perspective, this is kind of something to keep in mind, right? You want to see this reclaim before you start to look at challenging this weekly. So this level so these 4 hour levels are like low time frame, very localized support and resistance, essentially. You want to reclaim 333, which is this 4 hour level, then you look up to your weekly again. You lose this 4 hour level here at 306, and you're looking to this next immediate support. And take a drink. Last water. Now I'm out, so I'm gonna have to wrap this up. But anyway, so again, you lose this local support level. Looking back down at this 4 hour level at 265. You lose this, then you start to have like bearish market structures start to get put on the 4 hour, things start to look a bit uglier, right? Because you've made your high you have a low so far. This would then be confirmed as a lower high. And then again, if you take out this low here, then it would be a lower low, right? So you would officially like have bearish market structure on a 4 hour, which is like a pretty big deal. And then you'd probably be looking for some deeper pullbacks. So, a couple of things that I like to do is just to find like some levels. So like I'll take this fib pull. Here's your golden pocket. Also something to be aware of, which you've seen these get hit and played out a lot lately. I mean, they I don't want to say they always are, but like they're very, 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 very often. Like that's why I like to know where these levels are. Because again, so like below your 4 hour level, here's another support. And it's basically, again, from the right before, you see how it kind of comes and make this low, and then it gives you your impulsive move. So that's why I want to start this fib pull from here. And then you could pull it from lower. So like this low. So basically like a swing low up to this high. And your golden pocket here lines up with your macro value area high, which is pretty good. And it also lines up. So you see your 886 lines up right inside of here for like fib confluence, right? So you have your 886 of the smaller pull lining up with your golden pocket of your larger pull. So that's called Fibonacci confluence. And then you also have, again, your macro value area high. So like, this isn't like, it's nice to see the fib confluence here, macro value area high, but again, like this isn't like, these levels on their own, I'm not like getting overly excited about, but it is the point of where you're impulsed out, right? So if you came back down, you'd be testing kind of like the top of these levels, right? So you have your move up, rejection, big move to the upside. So maybe you come all the way back down here, test this as potential support, but like you would have retraced this entire move. It would start to like not look very good, right? And then last thing that I'm going to do, so I'm going to delete these. Actually, I'll leave them for a second. Is you can go down to an hourly. So this is usually the lowest level that I'll go is an hourly, and you can map out your hourly levels if you really wanted to do that, right? Which again, you see how your 4 hour like really takes care of this low here. This 4 hour pretty much takes care of this low. Like your 4 hour levels for the most part are really good. Here's an hourly level that I wouldn't keep because I'd say it's pretty much done, and it would just start to kind of like really mess my chart up as far as like having too many levels. But pretty clean, right? Hourly levels form, price backs off, rejection, and you get your move down. So like this is relevant, but I'm not going to bother keeping it just because it's such a low time frame. I mean, if you want like your scalping audio, you definitely could keep that on there to be aware of it. But I wouldn't bother. But I just wanted to show you that like you can go down all the way. Again, when you have something that has moved like this, right? And there's not a lot of support that's built up, you go down on lower time frames and you can find more localized supports. But you have to understand that like a 4 hour level or an hourly level it holds less significance than a weekly level or a monthly level. Some, you know what I'm saying? Like some high time frame level. So like these 4 hour levels and hourlies, like they're great for scalping. They're great for like intraday type trading. But as far as, again, like you have to understand that these levels I would say that they're a bit less significant to a degree, than the higher time frame levels for sure. So just something to keep in mind. But let's see here. I think I talked about, I had highlighted support and resistance. It should be good. That being said, though, like I hope that you found some value in this video. I know that it's a longer video. Well, I guess it's a typical trade outs video, right? Like I like to talk, but we went over several examples, pulled levels, explained why they're important, why they're not important. So I hope that by the end of this video, between this video and the first one, I think that you'll very likely have a pretty good idea about how to pull these levels and to start to figure out which ones are relevant when you're kind of looking at these levels for your trading, right? So like hopefully I've helped like really nail that down because these are really important. And these really are a big part of my trades. You know, obviously like there's other, other stuff that I look at, like, and I've kind of showed you a few of those things here to kind of give you an idea. But again, like these levels are really important. And it's definitely something that like you definitely take the time to learn it. Watch the video a few times if you need to. And, so hopefully this helped. And then, as far as the rest of the support resistance modules, like there's not a lot or like the rest of the videos in this module. I'd say that we're very close to wrapping this up. There is definitely one more that I want to do. And that's talking about support resistance zones. I kind of talked about that a tiny bit in this video. But those are something that I use, in my trading. So that's probably one that I'm going to do. And then, I might, I kind of have an idea for like a final SR video. Not as this final SR video, but like I have an idea for possibly one more that I'd like to do. But then I also want to move on to some different modules, because I know like people are really anxious to look at like some like Fibonacci modules one, the Ichimoku module. Obviously I did the first video, so like I have a ways to go on that one. But support resistance is such an important, like it's such a critical topic that I really wanted to emphasize this, especially because we are no longer in that range, in the 2-month range. We broke out of this, so these levels become very important. And being able to identify which levels, like, being able to chart these levels is going to be really important to your trading. So that's why I wanted to really kind of harp on this topic specifically. But hope you found value in this. Give me some feedback in Discord. Let me know like what you'd like to see potentially as the next module. Or if you want to see more of these, if there's something, if you guys have questions, feel free to tag me in there. That being said, trade safe. We'll see you on the next one. See you in Discord.